Namaste. Thanks, Sri Harikiran Garu, for conceiving this conference itself. Actually, the title, Hindu aesthetics itself is so remarkably trend-setting that I myself in the beginning was having a small debate with him whether we have to go for such a concept for such a term or not, because it's so sensational. It's not easily accepted, a word like that. He once saw a book in a bookshop with an adjective of a certain religion appended to art. And then he said, why not Hindu art or Hindu aesthetics? Why don't we use that word? What happened? And I narrated to him what happened in the academics, why instead of Hindu, the word Indian aesthetics or Sanskrit aesthetics was being used. So finally, we agreed to have this title. Almost all the conference ideas come from his incessantly creative mind of imagining the resurgence and revival of our Hindu culture and Hindu traditions. So, as part of that, when we wanted to send a call for papers to all the scholars to contribute ideas, the main ideas that were covered in the call for papers are as follows. Number one, we have an overemphasis on poetics when it comes to aesthetics. When people talk of aesthetics, the thing that immediately comes to mind is rasa, deservingly good. That is one of the biggest contributions of our ancient tradition to the entire world. It's a global contribution from India. No one, those who sit in a Hollywood movie hall, also get ecstasy and ecstatic experience in them. There is no word for it in those languages. So we have contributed a good word, good. But the problem is we are stopping there. We are stopping at poetics. And one Indological scholar who is always making some comment on Sanskrit that it is dead and Sanskrit is toxic and all that. He went on to add to the list of allegations that he makes that Hinduism or Sanskrit tradition or Indic traditions, Indian traditions, Sanatana Dharma does not have a comprehensive theory of all art. There is no combined theory of all art. Interconnectedness of arts is not dealt with. It is focusing only on poetics. That's a huge ignorance. We have to tell the world now that interconnectedness of arts. Professor Kanchi Gopinath, who is also going to contribute a paper today, argued in Swadeshi Indological Conference from Chitra Sutra of Vishnu Dharmottara Purana that the interconnectedness of all arts has already been discussed. And the scholars here, for example, of Sthapatya, the iconography and sculpture and temple architecture people, they were always aware of their connectedness to the Natya. And the Natya scholars were already aware of how comprehensive the art of Natya is and how it is connected to various arts, graphic and plastic arts, with regard to stage setting and aharya. And they were always aware, the Natya Shastra itself covers multiple artistic disciplines. And people were already aware of connectedness between Sangeeta Shastra and other Shastras. And we were always aware that Rasa, for example, Rasa Nishpatti Sutras themselves were connected to various Shastras. There was Anumitivada in Rasa Nishpatti Vada coming from Nyaya, And there is this Bhuktivada and Bhojyavada coming from Mimamsa. And there was this Abhivyaktivada coming from Spota, from Vyakarana Darshana. And people were aware that this kind of connectedness, interdisciplinarity among Shastras and Shastras, pure Shastras of non aesthetic areas like Nyaya Mimamsa, and aesthetic areas like Stapatya, Vastu, Sangeeta Shastra, and Natya Shastra, Alankara Shastra, all these, how they are connected. And all that was needed was a conference like this, where we bring in all the people together and speak in loud voice, make a loud announcement to the world that we are aware. It is all there in the tradition, and the comprehensive interconnectedness of all these shastras is being articulated, and people are aware of this. Another thing that we articulated in the call for papers is how actually the sacrality, what they call religious, a wrong word that is brought in by some religions into the world, that sacredness of sacrality in India is connected to aesthetics, and aesthetics in India are sacral aesthetics, and sacrality in India is aesthetic. How rishis are artists, and artists are actually rishis. It is we who said, Nan Rishi Kurute Kavyam. So, if we are saying that Anrishihi cannot compose a kavya, we are also saying that a Kavi is a Rishi and a Rishi is Kavi also. We are always saying that Kavi is a Rishi, but Rishi is a Kavi of the highest order. Brahmarshi is the Kalakara of the highest order. Brahmarshi is a Bhavuka of the highest order. That Bhavukatva that is there in the Rishitva and the Brahmarshitva particularly, that comes out in the perception of nature that is articulated in all the Veda mantras. And it is the Europeans who were fascinated by looking at the Veda mantras for the first time. They used words like highest order romantic poetry and all that. What is that romantic poetry? It is nature poetry, and that is artistic. So, the can you say Vedas are religious or Vedas are artistic? If they are calling them artistic and we are calling them religious, that is the combination. It is an artistic religion and a religious art. So that combination of sacrality within all art, that is to be articulated. The advantage, my friends, by doing such a conference and articulating these points is basically number one, the appropriation that is being done of all our arts, our music, our natya, our dance, our nritya, our nritta, our literature, our poetry, composing techniques, everything by non-Hindu religions, the appropriation being done by non-Hindu knowledge traditions, non-Hindu political movements, all these appropriations, we can challenge them by articulating that at the foundations of our art we have the Hinduness. Second advantage is we are going to be comprehensive in our approach. All this island approach, compartmentalized approach with which we are proceeding today will stop, and we can bring all the aesthetics related people together for the Hindu understanding. And we are also, with this process, going to show to the world that our religious practices, what they call religious practices, are aesthetic, and we are not a religion which hates art. There is no emperor here who was hating music. Music hating emperor was there. There was an emperor uh, guided by a certain religion. But we do not have such music hating kings. We have all the kings to be scholars in poetics, in music, in natya, in dance, and contributing to all this. So, all such aspects. that uh, this is a religion which is basically aesthetic and the beauty worshipping religion, and also our beauty worshipping artistic creativity is always spiritually founded. This has to be brought out. That was the objective behind this conference. Luckily we have somehow it is, I think we have dedicated this conference to Abhinava Gupta, and I think it is his miracle that he brought in such a stellar scholars here, and we have very good diversity in topics. We have a full session on art, sculpture, and design. Design is a modern word; it's a contemporary word, but you are going to see how we have design concepts contributed from India. Uh, the, those areas in design which are not there at all in contemporary design field all over the world, we contribute, and we have a session on music and dance, and wonderfully we have a full session on festivals and processions, utsavas, and our own Shefali ji, when she brought the topic of sari designs, textile designs connected to sculpture, we were so excited. This is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we expected when we sent in the call for papers to people, asking them to connect these areas. Now we have a paper on the swastika design, so controversial, so disputed. But how swastika design traveled from India in textile design as a motif to different parts of the world, how lotus design traveled. So, all these areas, for example, aesthetics of Ustavas, who would have talked if we did not organize this conference? Who would have talked about the rasa in Utsava? Varikari rasa, Brahmananda rasa. Who would have talked about Varadaraja Swami Perumal rasa, Bhakti rasa in Varadaraja Swami Perumal Utsavas? So it's a great success. We think we have brought in all good topics for this conference.